If you're working with students who are autistic, who are having trouble engaging in your therapy sessions, I am going live today to give you 3 strategies that you can use in your next therapy session, whether you are a speech language pathologist or a BCBA. And I'm dually certified. I am a SLP and BCBA. Less than 515 of us in the world, I think. So come on in and say hi. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you're working with autistic learners, maybe what age groups you're working with as well. I'm doing a more in-depth webinar next week, September 12th and 13th. That is going to be from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, all about joint attention. And so I wanted to come on live a couple times here at the beginning of the school year to help support you should you be working with any students that are having trouble engaging in their speech therapy sessions or their ABA sessions. And so today I want to share with you my 3-step framework for working on joint attention. Joint attention is really an activity, a shared activity where 2 people are in an activity together, and it's a shared activity. And so in my training next week, I'll go more in depth exactly on how we goal set for that and what exactly that means. But my 3-pronged approach that I wanted to share here is that the way that I work on joint attention in my therapy sessions, whether I'm providing ABA or whether I'm providing speech therapy services, it's kind of hard for me to take one from the other, but from a billing sense or how I'm employed on my title, is I like to use books, music, and also toys or play to work on those different skills. And so what I want to share with you today is how I like to use books in therapy. This is one of my very favorite books. Let me know if you love this book. We are going live on all the things: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So let me know in the chat if you like to use Chicka Chicka Boom Boom too. I think whatever book you're using, because sometimes you might be going into a classroom and maybe you're not sure what books they have, or you might be, I'm licensed in Washington State and Oregon, and so I might be providing therapy for a clinic that has 5 different locations. And so I may not know every single book that they have, but we can, number 1 strategy when you're using books, music, and play to work on joint attention is to use your own voice. I think that's so very important. There are a whole host of different ways that we can use literacy in our therapy sessions. And I love things like Epic Books and I love YouTube. But when I'm working on joint attention, and when I'm working with a student who is having trouble engaging in therapy sessions, I know that I want to make sure that I'm using my own voice. I really love this version of Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. This is one of my very favorite books to use in therapy. And why I love this paperback version, which I got this at Scholastic. So I have 3 kids of my own. I don't know, maybe I bought it at Scholastic. I'm not sure. But why I like this paperback version is that it has the entire alphabet here. So how I might present this in therapy, if you're joining us, we're just talking about joint attention and how to help our students engage in therapy, is I may say, okay, we're going to do a book now. I'm excited to do a book, and I may sign book for the student. And then I like this book to start with in this particular version because I can start by singing the song. Now, I'm not going to sing the whole song to you because I don't want you to all simultaneously leave my live at the same time. But kids seem to really enjoy this because I'm not saying, this is what I'm not saying. I'm not saying it's time for a book. Sit. You sit down. And I'm using that therapy voice because I do a lot of consults and I've seen people do therapy that way. So we don't want to do it that way. Now, I am talking about 1 therapist, 1 student right now, okay? 1 therapist, 1 student. I realize you may also be running small therapy groups if you're a speech language pathologist, but right now I'm talking about more of a one-on-one therapy session. So I like this Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. Let me know too in the comments if you use this book. Do you like this one? And so I might just start by singing the song. A, B, C, D, E, F. I'm pointing to every single letter. And maybe if my student is speaking or has a device or is able to point, maybe they will say, I'm going to use an expectant pause there when I get to different places in the alphabet song. So whatever book you use, I would urge you, if you're working on joint attention or you're working with students who are having trouble engaging, is to work on literacy. Use a book, use your own voice, make it fun, whatever that means for your particular client, and you can modify the story. Now, something like this might be hard to modify because sometimes kids learn the entire story. But let's say that you went into a classroom and you're picked up a book and you want to just use the book that you have in the classroom and you're not even sure what it is yet. And you can modify the story. There's nothing that says that you can't modify the story. If the student is having a hard time listening and a hard time engaging, we don't want this to be extremely, work focused. It's joint attention. They need to it needs to be a fun activity. Okay. It needs to be a fun activity. So number one strategy is to use a book. Okay. Use a book. So we're talking today about general strategies about joint attention. I'm going to be doing 2 free to register webinars next September 12th and 13th, next week, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to go deeper on these topics. They're free to register. Hey there. If you join, you get a free general certificate, and then you can also purchase an ASHA and or ACEU. So a great talk for speech therapists, BCBAs, teachers. I know I have some parents coming as well. Okay, so books. Books are great. I love books. The next way that we can work on joint attention is by using music, okay? Music. So now I have these. These are not fancy. They're black and white. I made them. Oh, hey, Jenny, how's it going? The price for one CEU, 0.1 is how Asha says it, is $25. Or is $25 for an ACEU, or you can join the ABA Speech Connection, which is our CEU membership. And that's also launching next week as well. And that's $20 a month for the first 6 months. So the other way that I like to work on joint attention is by using music. Now, I created this one, and actually this one. I've had these 15 years. And I was working in Austin, Texas. I'm here in Ohio now. I was living in Austin, Texas, and I worked in a really cool place called Sante Rehab. I don't think it's around anymore. But we had laminate and we had Velcro, but we did not have any color copiers, which was fine, absolutely fine. Sometimes I like to use music, and so sometimes I'll use a visual like this, even for teletherapy. I do a little bit of consulting in teletherapy in Washington and Oregon. But if I'm in person, it's nice because kids like to manipulate the pieces. So that could be a way that your student is staying engaged and they're with you in that shared activity, which is how I like to refer to joint attention, that it's a shared activity. The student is motivated to stay in the teaching area, which I know is subjective, but, and that's going to be different if you have a 5-year-old versus a kid who's 2, right? Or 2.5, which is how some of the kids are that we serve and support. I like to do songs that either have a visual, like Old MacDonald, where you can take off the different pictures, okay? Or I like to use motions, okay? I like to use motions. And so what that might look like is, motions are nice because when you use songs that have motions, you are working on joint attention, but you're also working on imitation. And so you might have a student where, they're not yet speaking, and maybe they don't have a device yet, and you're just trying to help them find a way to communicate with the world. And so a way that they might stay engaged and they might want to participate is by imitating some of the motions. And I love Wheels on the Bus. It's one of my very favorite songs. I sing this a lot. My husband shares my office and he's right over there, and he always laughs at me. He's like, how many times are you going to sing Wheels on the Bus? And I'm like, well, probably for the next 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so, but the wheels on the bus is nice. And I just try to, so if I have the visual, I might, tear off the one piece, the wheels on the bus go. And then I model it round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round all through the town. If I'm in person, I might take these pictures off and maybe have the student put it on. Or sometimes the students might like to rip off the pictures because that has a little bit of a sensory component, right? It kind of might be hard for them. They get to hear it kind of tearing off. You want to keep your students engaged and thinking of ways that are fun for them. And so that might be a way that they would like to work on that, and they're engaged in the shared activity. So you don't have to sit there and say, okay, sit, we're doing music now, we're sitting, it's work time. Those are not things we want to say. We don't want to have to say all those things. We want it to be a fun activity. That's going to be completely individualized. That's why I'm giving you lots and lots of examples. Other songs, so I do like Wheels on the Bus. I do really like Old MacDonald. Other songs I like for imitation are If You're Happy and You Know It, Clap Your Hands. That's a fun one. What other songs do I love? Five Little Monkeys, Jumping on the Bed. That's a very fun song. I feel like other ones. Oh, another one is Head, Shoulders, Knees and Toes, Knees and Toes. That's another very fun song that can work on imitation. And so ways to engage your student and keep them engaged in therapy, because we know once our students are engaged and they're motivated to be engaged in therapy, they're going to be able to learn, they're going to be able to find their voice and start communicating, which is very, very exciting. So the three-pronged approach to work on joint attention, which is really that foundation for all other types of communication, is to use books. Today I talked about Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. I love the paperback version because you can start with singing the alphabet. And I also really love to use music. So music is another really fun way to work on that, and using your own voice for reading and using your own voice for singing. And then thinking about using songs that have motions so that you're working on joint attention, but you're also working on another foundational skill, which we are going to talk more about next week on the 12th and 13th. I'm doing a live webinar, same webinar, 2 different days, about joint attention. It's free to register. It's ASHA approved, ACE approved. You get a general certificate. I'm also going to share I have a Google folder with some freebies. And then you can purchase ASHA or ACE CEUs as well, or join our new CEU membership called the ABA Speech Connection. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about today is another way to work on joint attention, and that is just with using play-based activities. There are so many different play-based activities. You could use bubbles. Bubbles are very, very fun. You could use mini objects. This is another really fun way to work on therapy, and it does not have to be anything overly fancy. Let me know if you like to use mini objects too, if I'm the only one. So with mini objects, what I like to do, these are from Lakeshore Learning. We actually have one that's brick and mortar building right by kind of where I live, about 25 minutes away. So what I like to do with my mini objects, this one obviously is a cookie, and I might just put this, I don't have a bag to show you, but I might just put this in a bag, and I might shake, shake, shake. And I'm getting the student excited because there's like something in that bag and they want to know what it is. So they're engaged. They're engaged in therapy. You don't have to chase them around. You don't have to, do anything like that. You don't have to, make a chart. It's just they're excited about the activity. So shake, shake, shake in the bag, then you pull it out. There's excitement. If your student is speaking, maybe they label cookie with their voice, or maybe they imitate cookie. Maybe you pull it out and you say cookie, or maybe you sign cookie. Pretty sure that's the ASL sign for cookie, but let me know if it's not, because I am not an expert in that area. And so that's a very simple thing to do. These particular ones are from Lakeshore Learning, but you can get them all over. There's food, there's clothing, lots of fun things you can do. Another really fun game that I have is, and this might be for a student who's kind of ready for another foundational skill. So this could be joint attention because it's a shared activity, and you could take turns picking up the mini object and then putting it here as well. So I had a student that I saw in his house for a couple of years here in my hometown before they were school age. And this is one of the things that we did. So we worked on joint attention, we worked on books, and we worked on music, and we worked on play for probably 3 months straight. And the parents at one point were like, when are you going to start working on talking? Well, obviously we were embedding that within our sessions as well. But probably after about 3 months of therapy, and then we started to work on matching as well. So this was a nice activity because the student liked this type of thing. They liked the mini objects, and we would take turns. So he would pick the watermelon and he would match it. And then I would pick the cookie and I would match it. And then we can talk about the different items. You can have a little animal and you can feed the animal the different things. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with a pretend dinosaur or whatever this is. This might be a crocodile, alligator, I don't know. My kids found it in our yard, so I use it for therapy. And then mini objects. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You probably don't even need to buy anything new. I'm glad that you tuned in tonight. So tonight we talked all about joint attention, engaging in shared activities, and a simple way to do that. If you're going to be in therapy tomorrow, let me know if you tried any of these. Send me a direct message, contact me through my site, ABA Speech, is by using books, using a book, making it fun for the student, using your own voice. Very, very important. Using play items like I showed you, and then using music. Try wheels on the bus. Try modeling the motions. If the student doesn't do it right after you, that's okay. We're not going to go in there and make them do it. We're not doing any of that. We're just modeling. We're taking a baseline. If we've never done wheels on the bus with our student, we're going to sing that song. We're going to do our motions. And then we're going to write down, did the student imitate any of the motions? How long did the student stay in the teaching area? Did the student glance up at the therapist? There's a lot of different ways and a lot of different indicators of joint attention. And really what I want to stress to you is really about a shared activity. We're doing something fun. I'm doing it, the student's doing it, and we're doing it together. We both know that we're doing the activity together. This is joint attention. I'm going to be talking about this more in depth next week on September 12th and 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can hit me up and ask for the direct link, or it's up in my bio on all the social medias. And it's free to register. When you join live, you get a free live general certificate, or you can purchase ASHA or ACEUs for $25, or you can join our ABA Speech CEU Connection, which is our membership, and our founding members launch is happening next week. Woo, I can't wait. I'm going to be going live quite a bit in the next 2 weeks. I think with back to school time, I want to make sure that every person feels supported. So if there's an area that you have a question about, or you want me to answer in one of these lives, please send me a direct message. I do all of this. I started my business to help support you. Okay, great. Thanks, Jenny. Okay, hope you were all doing well. If you have a question, contact me, and make sure you go and register for our joint attention webinar taking place September 12th or 13th. Same information, and it is free to register. I hope that I see you there. Bye.